Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
We are rolling too.
Terrible Happy Talks. Terrible Happy Talks. Terrible Happy Talks. Terrible Happy Talks. Today's guest is Blake Johnson. Blake is a surfer, entrepreneur and successful business owner. Hailing from Wollongong, Australia, Blake now lives in Bali with his girlfriend Jess, owns and manages 2 successful cafes and a coffee roasting distribution company. Blake's business savvy has allowed him to create lifestyle on his terms, and at the age of 30, he has acquired knowledge and skills well beyond his years. Blake possesses an innate confidence, calmness and kindness in all that he does, and I believe these qualities have allowed him to achieve the success that he has at such a young age. Blake is a firm believer in hard work, dedication, and challenging the notion of stereotypical traditional education and career pathways. Blake finds his solace in the ocean. He has found his happy place at Nusa Lembongan, in which he escapes to regularly. And today, he is here to talk about his journey so far, challenges, experiences, and hopes for the future. Blake Johnson, welcome.
That's quite a rap, isn't it?
How'd you like it?
I love it.
Mate, you deserve it.
Thanks.
How are you this morning, brother?
I'm good.
What'd you get up to?
Little 6 o'clock wake up on a Saturday morning for a surf.
Yeah, isn't that the best?
It's the best.
Yeah. What do you like about it?
Apart from the freezing cold on the way down the beach.
In Bali.
In Bali.
Come on. Come on.
No, it's just nice to get in the water early in the morning, hopefully before most of the other shredders.
There's a lot of shredders.
There's a lot of shredders.
I know, it's a shred fest. But it's kind of good because it pushes you to surf better.
For sure.
Do you feel like you've started surfing better since you moved to Bali?
Yeah, but only through consistency of waves, I think.
What do you mean?
Well, back home in Wollongong, the surf gets good at City Beach once every blue moon.
Mm-hmm.
And then here you can pick a day or pick, somewhere to surf every single day of the year.
Mm.
Or at least 300 days a year.
Hey, why don't you surf somewhere other than City Beach?
Because I'm a creature of habit.
Like, describe that break. Describe City Beach as a break. Like, I affectionately, it's affectionately known as South Beach.
Yep.
Because North Beach is around the corner.
Yep.
Like, what's it like? Describe it to us.
I think it's just a lazy wave. You get to jump off the rocks and then get that little wedge on the side, little fat back left-hander, bit of fun. Just fun.
Is that where you grew up surfing?
Yep.
And you weren't inclined to, travel around a little bit back then?
As far as I would go would be from North Beach to Oilies, which is about 3 Ks, maybe 4 Ks max.
Yeah.
If it's not good between there and there, I'm not surfing.
Okay. So, going back to Wollongong, you grew up there? Is that where you were born?
Grew up in Mangaton in Wollongong.
Okay,
yeah.
suburb of Wollongong. And,
Yeah.
And what was it like growing up in that suburb?
Yeah, it was great. We lived on a little cul-de-sac with probably 6 other houses and a bunch of other kids my age. We moved there when I was maybe 3 or 4. So we grew up with same age group of families around us. And had an awesome upbringing because we're on the cul-de-sac, had no one driving on our street, so we could just play on the bikes and skateboards, try and skate anyway.
So you had like a tight little community of friends?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you lived there your whole childhood in that cul-de-sac?
Yeah, until I was 17, I think.
Yeah, right.
I think I moved out of home at 17 or 18.
Where'd you move out of home to?
Just to the heart of Wollongong,
Okay.
Campbell Street.
Right.
Yeah.
And so moving out of home at 17, 18 considered young sometimes? Like, why were you inclined to want to move out of home so young?
So, finished high school, was working in a restaurant full time, managing the floor, and I remember coming home from work one day and Mum said, now that you've finished high school, you start paying rent. And I went, really? How much is rent? She goes, well, I got charged 30% of my salary from Mum when I moved out of home. Before I moved out of home, sorry.
Does that include food?
That was everything. That was just like board.
Housekeeping?
Everything. But I was earning pretty good money then for a 17-year-old, I think. I was on $1,000 a week.
What?
So
working in a cafe, a restaurant?
No, restaurant, yeah.
Dude.
Big hours.
Okay.
Long hours. So I thought $300 a week, that's not really worth it to me. So I thought I'd start having a look around, and I ran into a guy that I'd never met before down North Gong pub, the usual drinking hole on a Sunday afternoon after a big week at work, and invited me back to his house for a few more drinks after the pub one night, and noticed there was a spare room there and said, hey, is anyone sleeping in that spare room? He said, no. I said, all right, I'll be here next Sunday with my stuff. I didn't even get his phone number. I just rocked up with my stuff the next Sunday.
Right. So it wasn't because you were like craving like some independence. It was
No.
more like,
Oh, probably
more
a little
for
bit.
financial
But
economics.
definitely. I was trying. No, I'm not fine. I just thought I'm better if I'm going to pay someone. Why would I pay Mum and Dad? I'm better off doing it on my own.
Yeah, on your own terms.
Yeah.
Like, do you like doing things on your own terms?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure.
Like, why? Like, so you don't feel like you're being controlled by anyone?
No, I just think I've always had that mindset, doing things for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when you grew up in Mangaton, what primary school did you go to? Like the local one?
Local one, just down the road, Mount St Thomas.
And then you transitioned to which high school from there?
Victory High, which was like the feeder.
Yeah.
That you got, if you went to Mount St Thomas, you went to Victory High, pretty much.
And what, like, describe that as a high school? Was it public, private?
Public high school, and probably pretty rough, I think, compared to other high schools.
What do you mean rough?
Well, I don't know. Looking back at it, probably pretty a rougher sort of high school.
Well, what kind of things make it rough?
Fights out the back every afternoon
Down
and
the back oval.
down the back oval.
Behind the dunnies.
Behind the dunnies, yep. People smoking durries in the dunnies and
stop it.
that kind of stuff. I don't know. I guess that was.
Yeah.
I think. That made it a little bit more rough than the private schools that were around town. I'm sure those things still went on at the other schools, but not as frequent, maybe.
Well, how did you feel like being in that environment every day of your life through your teenage years?
It was challenging, for sure. Yeah.
In what ways? Like, did you feel unsafe?
Not unsafe. No, I think it challenged. I think it shaped me better than what I could have been shaped through a private school.
Okay. Like made you a little bit more street smart?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, what kind of student were you? Academic?
No, I gave it a crack when I
did?
felt like if I enjoyed the subject, I gave it a crack. Like I was into maths and history and science. Everything else sort of didn't really make sense to me. I didn't like the creativeness of English and things that you had to sort of pull an answer out of the end. It could be right or wrong. I like things that are right, and there's one answer, and that's it.
You like things to be like black and white.
Black and white, yeah.
And you like it to be factual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was funny. Like I was a bit more on the fence like that. Like I for some reason like English was my best subject at school. I liked the creative writing, But if you put me in the art setting, like in an art class, oh my god, I was just so bad.
Yeah, I was rubbish at art too.
It actually damaged my self-esteem for years. I remember I took this elective art class in my senior years purely because I wanted to be near my girlfriend, and she was like really good. But then,
I'm sure I did that in high school too.
But then I was like, once I was in there, I was like, oh shit, I'm in too deep here. Like, we have to produce a major artwork, and like everyone has to see my shit. I'm like, oh no, I'm so bad, It fucked my confidence for a while there because I produced just the worst piece of major art. Yeah, so you were you were like just, you know, one of those students who just
I coasted.
you tried at what you enjoyed.
I tried at what I enjoyed, and everything else I didn't really have a crack at because I didn't like being bad at stuff. I think.
Yeah, I hear that so often.
Yeah.
You know, like, did you feel like you were often like forced to be doing things you didn't want to be doing at school?
I think your electives start pretty early. I think maybe year 9 or 10. So I think you sort of got to pick what you wanted to do, you know. And I picked obviously the stuff that you're better at than, you know.
Yeah.
Ended up doing a lot of the woodwork ones and the hospitality classes that didn't really have many points in the HSC and stuff like that, but didn't really bother me. I just wanted to do something that I enjoyed and didn't really care about the numbers that were going to come out at the end.
Yeah, gotcha. So they're more like non-academic
pathways. Things, yeah.
Yeah. And so you enjoyed the hospitality subject back then?
I felt like I knew more than the teacher, that's for sure. from the first class that I ever took with her.
Why is that?
Oh, because they're just old school, you know. Teachers usually, like, especially when I was in high school, there was a lot of old teachers that had been there for 30 years, you know. I think now it's changed a lot where there's a lot more young up-and-coming blood in the schools, and I hope they don't hang around as long as the last generation of teachers did, because I think it was damaging.
100%. I hear that all the time, and so many people reflect on their high school years, and it's rare that you hear them say, "Oh, I loved high school. It was so good."
Yeah, we just had a bunch of dinosaur teachers there.
Yeah.
That were really stuck in old curriculums and
ways of doing things.
And it was just like, you know, for a high school student to think that he knew more than his teacher.
But where were you acquiring that knowledge outside of school? Were you working already?
Yeah, I started working, not full-time or anything like that, but just helping out family that owned restaurants and catering jobs and stuff like that. A little bit, probably started when I was about 11, I reckon, 10 or 11. My mum's brother owned a catering company in Barrel, and I'd get the call up every now and again when he needed an extra set of hands. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I loved it.
Great. And like, were your family quite business minded or orientated? Like, did they have businesses?
Yeah,
well?
Down mum's side. So her and her brothers, they all own their own businesses. Mum and dad owned their own business when I was growing up as well. Most of the time, mum's owned her own business the whole time. Brother's a chef. One's a chef. One's an electrician. One's a painter. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
But they all own their own businesses and all work super hard.
And they're all the boss?
They're all the boss.
Okay. So they're not working for somebody else?
No.
Yeah, like, so you love surfing.
Yes.
And so you grew up in a coastal town.
Yep.
How old were you when you first started surfing?
13, I reckon. No, I probably started bodyboarding first. And that's where I've got my my stance that I still use when I stand up. My drop knee. which is like I said to you the other day, it's starting to cause troubles because I'm bashing my knee against the board still.
Okay. Yeah. And actually a few bodyboarders or surfers that I know who started bodyboarding, they always seem to be really good barrel riders.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think barrel riding, like bodyboarding, actually helps with developing barrel riding, like taking off under the lip and
knowing where to sit,
being in
on the wave,
steep sections, because I guess bodyboarders are looking for the steepest part of the wave, aren't
they?
they?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so like, what was your first surfboard like?
It was a Skippy, which is a local shaper in the Gong, it was John Skip, and it was one of his team riders, Carmen, forgotten the last name, it was Squizz's ex-girlfriend.
She used to be our neighbour.
Yeah, she used to ride for Skippies, and I bought her one of her boards off her.
I know her.
Yep.
I forget her last name, but
Green Tree it is now, actually.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So she was a sponsored surfer.
She was sponsored surfing. Right? That was my first surfboard. Actually, no, that was my second. That was the first surfboard that I bought.
Yeah.
Mum and dad bought me. The first board I had was a Carabine single fin from my uncle. My mum's brother had a carabine single fin in his garage.
Yeah.
And I seen him one day and I thought it was cool to surf. So I said, can I borrow your board? And I never gave it back.
No way.
Yep.
Give me some dimensions though. Like, was it?
I reckon the carabine would have been a 5'10", maybe. It was pretty short, 3 inches thick, real tapered tail, single fin, yellow, blue, and white.
No way.
Yep, it was a
I
sick
just
board.
love
I used to love it. Had it for
Loved
years
it.
and years and years. I
Did
don't know what
anyone
happened to
actually? Did anyone actually teach you how to surf, or were you just like, no, I'm just going out with the boys,
it.
working it out?
No, I think I started bodyboarding one summer, then roped Dad in to drive me down in the afternoons to go bodyboarding, and then when I found the board, I started taking that out by myself. But no one in my family surfed, so there was no one really teaching me how to surf. But I had a couple of mates in high school that were starting to surf at the same time, so we started hanging out and surfing a little bit together, which definitely helped.
Yeah. How do you feel about people getting surf lessons and coaching when they first start?
I wish someone had done it, pushed me into it.
You really?
For sure.
Like,
I feel
why?
like I could have progressed a lot quicker if I had someone teaching me what to do properly.
Yeah.
Took me a lot of years to work out things that I was doing wrong that could have been told to me straight away.
Yeah, I agree, but I've also...
Even boards, like what sort of board you should be riding. Like the Carmen one that I bought, I just bought it because it looked cool.
What was the dimensions on that one?
Oh, it was tiny. It was like for a pro surfing young chick.
Really lightly glassed.
Yeah, lightly glassed, like put my foot through it in like the second surf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got this thing, like, I do agree with what you're saying in terms of you'd save a lot of time by getting proper coaching and lessons, but
Yep.
I also kind of feel like
It's an art.
It's an art, and also
a personal art, a practice.
it is it's a daily practice, and you've got to develop that level of commitment and just drag your ass to the beach every day,
for sure.
day in, get out there, get smashed, get in the way of people,
Yeah.
get yelled at, and go through all those trials and tribulations. I
Yeah,
feel
for
like
sure. I think you still need to go through those, but I think a little bit of guidance at the beginning would have gone a long way.
Yeah. And I really enjoy watching the father-son or father-daughter combination in the surf when it's the dad out there maybe pushing the kid in. But I'm still a bit on the fence when I see people turning up with surf coaches and proper lessons, especially when they're getting to a level where they actually can ride waves.
I don't think there's any point. Oh, maybe. I don't know. I'm sure somebody could probably tell me a few pointers on what I could be doing better.
Yeah, and that's where I feel developing a good crew comes in really crucial, because then you know mates can critique each other and you feed off each other and you learn from one another. And then that's when the surf sort of bond creates with your mates.
I think watching surfing too is actually really beneficial. Yeah. Like movies of pros.
Yeah, who were some pros that you really like?
Taj Burrows was my number one. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you like about him?
I don't know. I think I liked his surf style. And he's the sections that he had in movies when I was younger were just like the real hard and fast ones, you know. Probably one of the first guys to start stomping airs and just exciting to watch.
Yeah, he was super groundbreaking with his air game. Yeah. I remember it was like kind of the first guy that was consistently throwing air reverses. Yeah. But then charging big waves as well, and you know, growing up in WA, he was really well rounded, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So, you okay. So you got your first surfboard, then you developed a bit of a crew of friends. You hung out at South Beach in Wollongong a lot. A lot. Now, the king of South Beach. The reason I bring this up, like, I remember you as a grommy at South Beach. And I remember you and your mates with a lounge or some shit. Yeah, we did. We had a lounge on the rocks. We did too. Yeah. And I remember a couple of summers. Because I was a little bit older, and I used to watch you guys and think, fuck, they look like they're having the best time. It was the best time. It was unreal. And then you'd paddle out, and I'd be like, fuck, I hate those little cunts. Because a couple of the boys surfed really well. A lot of them haven't really continued to surf too much. But when we were younger, a couple of the boys were really good surfers. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, like I just remember you. There was a crew of you on. I know some of them now. I know your mate Julian. He was a good surfer too.
Yeah.
Growing up.
It was actually the crew that I used to hang out with down at South Beach on the rocks was actually the year below me in high school. In my year in high school, a lot of the boys were footy players.
Gotcha.
So I ended up hanging out with the year below because most of them were surfers. There was only me and one other guy or two other guys in my year that surfed, and then everyone else was in the year below. So all those guys you would have seen me hanging out with, they were from the year below me in high school.
And you were drawn to them because
of surfing, yeah. I'd be hanging out with them on the weekends. The guys in my year were playing football on the weekends.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I guess that's the area you grew up in. That was a pretty good culture, yeah?
Yeah. Probably held me back in socially at high school too a little bit because those guys had a bond, you know, in the sheds on the weekends, whereas I had a bond with the boys in the year below me from going surfing all weekend.
Did you play any team sports yourself?
No, I wasn't really athletic when I was younger at all.
Okay.
Very clumsy.
I don't believe that.
Super clumsy.
Really?
Like, useless B-grade soccer player, B-grade tennis player, like always in the low grades in all the team sports that I played, yeah. Very, very clumsy and very unfit.
And like, how did that make you feel when you were participating in that kind of stuff?
It stopped me from participating, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe not, like, even through high school, like, and all those guys in my year playing football, I was intimidated to play football because I knew that I wasn't as good as them. And so I wouldn't want to play.
Okay.
I think that's why I got drawn to surfing probably a little bit too, because it's your own, you know, you're going at your own pace. You're not really competing with anyone except for your mates that you see maybe do a good turn in front of you, and hopefully you can reproduce that eventually, but you don't have to do it that day, you know?
Did you feel like you're in more control of what you were doing?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I think you like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting because I felt the same. Like I played soccer a lot growing up and I was actually okay at it. But I couldn't handle the fact that there'd be other people on the team. Like we couldn't win a game, not because of my effort, but because of someone else.
Yeah.
And it used to do my head in. So then when...
So that someone else was probably me on your team.
Did that mess with your confidence growing up?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah? Did you get a little bit self-conscious about your ability? Or?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't want to participate in PE and stuff like that, and yeah.
And did you how did you avoid, like, what sort of things did you do to avoid that? Not just PE, but avoid putting yourself in those situations so you wouldn't be embarrassed.
I think before high school I would give anything a crack, you know. And Mum and Dad were always super supportive too. Would let me have a go at whatever I wanted to do. I think that self-doubt started in high school. Okay. When we got to high school, and probably discovering girls too. I was probably more worried about what the girls were thinking of me than what the boys were thinking of me, to be honest.
Dude, don't laugh. It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't want to look like an idiot in front of the girls.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
Man, I'm embarrassed to say how many decisions I've made based on what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's powerful, you know.
Yeah.
So you said your parents were quite supportive of whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So when you left school, high school, you finished, you went to grade 12.
Yeah.
What was your next step? Is that when did your parents support you in your next step from there? Was it?
Yeah, well...
What was it?
And we never really had a discussion about what the next steps were. I think there was almost an unspoken trust from Mum and Dad that they knew that I was going to take the right direction. And it's probably because of their upbringing too, you know. They were hard workers, and that's, you know, passed on to me then. And then I think they just thought that I would be a good worker, and had a good support base too of, you know, family who had their own businesses and stuff. So if I had to fall back onto something, I could.
And so what'd you do?
So I started in my hospitality class in high school. Did placement at a restaurant called Monsoon, and after high school they offered me a full-time position in managing the floor. And at the time, that restaurant in Wollongong was probably one of the best ones, I think. It was probably, you know, very popular, very hip, if you like to call it. And yeah, it was a great time to be involved in that restaurant. I also had 2 other jobs. One was at Glory Jeans, which is where the coffee passion started, and also at General Pants. So I was working at General Pants at a retail store as well, which was giving me enough money to get by and, you know, move out and do my own thing.
Yeah, nice. So you really just launched into, like, you're working a few jobs, and so you had that strong work ethic.
Yeah.
Like, what was your parents? Was it quite a? You said that your extended family were quite close. Were you quite close with your mum and your dad? And was it a close knit family you had?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Spent a lot of time with Dad on weekends, whether it would have been driving me to surfing, or when I was a little bit younger than surfing, it was fishing, and me and Dad would go fishing every weekend. So we'd spend a lot of time, me and Dad, together on the weekends, which was a great time of my life to look back on. And I'm sure Dad feels the same way too. It was a great bonding time between me and Dad. Yeah.
Do you have any brothers and sisters?
One sister, older.
Oh, okay. Close with her?
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and you're cool with that?
Yeah. I think we've spoken about it a little bit before, how my sister's got Asperger's, and that sort of created it makes it difficult to have a normal relationship with them.
Yeah.
As much as I love her and I try and be there for her, it's definitely not a normal relationship, brother sisterly.
Super challenging.
Very challenging.
Challenging for the whole family?
Yep, for sure. It's split up mum and dad.
Okay.
After 18 years of doing it together, which I completely respect them for. They probably stayed together for 6 years too long, and I knew it, and they knew it, and even when it was happening, you know, but they stayed together for us, for the family, and I'm forever grateful that they did that. But yeah, Ebony was definitely a challenge. Probably turned me into the person I am today, though, having a sister like that.
When you say the person you are today, what describe that? What is it?
Well, if I hadn't had a sister like Ebony, I think that I would have been the younger brother, whereas I was the younger brother that had to be the older brother. Gotcha. And the younger brother.
Yep.
So I think it definitely influenced the way in which I look at life, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it made you more resilient.
Yeah, for sure.
So when life dishes out like challenges,
yeah,
you seem like you can cope with it.
Yeah. It definitely gave me resilience, for sure. Yeah. I don't know what else it's given me, but it's definitely given me resilience.
Because, like, I've seen you under pressure, and I know various aspects of your personal life, and I've seen the strain that you can be under at times with some of your responsibilities that you've created. Yeah. And I've really noticed that about you. You seem to really keep it together on the surface. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, no, and it's not just on the surface too. I feel like I can really keep myself calm under high pressure, you know.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like, is there something you do in your head when you feel like things are getting really chaotic? What do you have a little process you go through? Like, you know, do you go and meditate?
No. I think
look in the mirror and just splash some water on your face and go snap out of it, son.
No, I don't know I don't know how I think I just control it by sort of only tackling things that are in front of me. I never really think of the broader picture or where things are going. I'm just sort of tackling one task at a time, whether it be relationship wise or business wise, or, you know, whatever the task might be. It's getting tackled when it's in front of me. I'm never dwelling on things ever.
So take one day at a time.
Definitely.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So true.
But also looking to the future too, you know, like I want to succeed in life, the game of life. But yeah, just tackling challenges as they come rather than worrying about them.
What do you class as success then?
I'm pretty happy at the moment, to be honest. Like,
why?
Well, this was living in Bali and running a business in Bali was a goal for probably the last 5-6 years, and now I feel like I'm living it.
Did you actually have a clear-cut goal though, or was it
To
just
move
something?
here and do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm a firm believer in if you set yourself to something and you have a goal and you keep reaffirming that goal, not only with yourself but with peers. And I did get to the point when just before we moved here that I thought, shit, what am I doing? I'm about to spend all my money that I've made in the previous business, and what if it goes wrong? But I'd given myself the pressure by telling everyone I'm going to go do it. And I think that was part of the thing that made it succeed, because I couldn't not succeed because I told everyone I was going to do it.
What do they call that? A self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, it is. When you've actually...
I think I set myself up to succeed only because I pushed myself to succeed by telling everyone it was going to happen.
Well, going back to what you just said, that, you just finished up a business and then you'd made this decision, but you said just before you moved or before you did it, you were freaking out.
Fully freaking out.
Like, do you feel like you were just stepping into the unknown?
Yeah, it was a big unknown. It was, you've done it with a family. I still dragged Jessie over here, my girlfriend, and I felt like I had to make it work, because otherwise I was letting her down too. Yeah. There was definitely a point where I went, all right, this is the point where I can either say no and I'm going to step away from it, or we're going and I have to make it happen.
So now you're 2 years in, past that decision.
Yeah.
And how is it?
Best decision I ever made.
Really?
Yeah.
But you would have never known that otherwise.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, when I talk to people now that the business has been running successfully for 2 years and we're here in Bali living the life that we wanted to live, they look at it now and they say to me, good friends of mine say, oh, we always knew it was going to work. Whereas I didn't see that. I saw me thinking, shit,
You're scared?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like no one wants to fail. It was more scared of failing. It wasn't scared of anything else. It wasn't scared of coming here or, doing things the wrong way or anything like that. It was just scared of failure.
Do you still have that fear of failure?
Yeah, I think maybe I do. I think it's
Why?
probably a pushing force.
Because fear of failure controls a lot of people, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And now, like, if you measure your success, I guess, in terms of business,
Yeah.
on the surface, you're very successful, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
why is there still that fear of failure there?
I think there has to be for you to keep moving on to your next goal.
So it's a continual motivator.
Yeah,
for you.
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Is that
Even in the next little chapter that we've got running with the roastery attached to the little leg yarn store, there's a fear of failure now. We've spent a lot of money on the setup, and there's obviously a financial pressure because we've spent a lot of money on setting it up. I don't want it to go nowhere now. So there's a fear of failure in financial terms, but also it was one of the goals when we moved over here was to become a roaster. We've become one, but we haven't gone far with it yet. We're still just supplying ourselves. So now the goal is to turn it into a successful facet of the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's sustainable though, living in fear?
Maybe not for some people, but for me it seems to work. I think.
You think you thrive in that space?
Yeah, I think I thrive under pressure and a fear of something not being successful.
What about in the surf? Do you thrive on fear?
Nah, I don't thrive on fear in the surf. If I've got any fear in the surf, it's of sharks.
Oh, don't get me started about sharks. I almost lost my shit at my mother-in-law the other day. and my mum carrying on about, sharks, I don't know how you go in the ocean with all them sharks. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? The most negative interactions I've had in the ocean are with humans.
Yeah, true. I don't really like this morning when we went for the surf, and I said, "Where do you want to surf? You want to surf where there's 100 people or no people?" I'd rather surf where there's good waves, and I don't really care about the other people. I think I used to care a lot more about what people thought of my surfing, but I don't give a shit anymore.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
I love that you said that.
Yeah. I surf for me.
You surf for you?
Yeah, I surf for me. I don't surf for anyone else.
Why do you surf for you? Like, what sort of feeling does it give you?
I think just from 20 years of practice and then finally sort of getting it together a little bit now feels good, you know? And I just feel like I've proved it to myself, and that's enough. Like, I might not be the best surfer in the world, but I feel like I've got to a point where I can confidently say that I can surf all right.
Yeah. But it's like you said, like 20-year apprenticeship.
Yeah, 20-year apprenticeship, exactly. And also almost falling out of that apprenticeship probably 100 times too.
Why? Because you got lazy?
You lose the love for it. It's not something that's a constant in my life. I wish it was. I think it ebbs and flows with the banks. If the banks are good, I'm surfing good, so I want to surf more.
Yeah, like you were saying the other day, there's this bank down at Padma that was firing, and then the big swell washed it away, and it's like, oh shit, it looks like I'm not surfing again for a few months.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is. It's my surfing is very dependent on quality of waves.
And convenience? And
convenience, for sure. I do like to, even though a lot of my friends and even my family think that I do fuck all here, except for drink bintangs and just sit on the beach. I think that's what they think I do over here.
They really think that?
Honestly. Even my mum gives me shit all the time. Are
you kidding?
Yeah.
Even though you've got two
they think it just happens. They think it's just something that happens. I don't know. I don't know why, but it seems it's a misconception that people think that we do fuck all over here and everything just sort of happens.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I try and keep some structure in my life here because I think it's important. When you're living in a place like Bali, you need to have that 9 to 5 mentality without having the 9 to 5 structure. Because otherwise you go batshit crazy. Yeah,
and you see it. Like, you see some people who came over here and they tried to maybe create a new life here, but they got too caught up in just being on a holiday and staying in holiday mode. When reality is, it is a good lifestyle, but you can't maintain that holiday mentality because it's not sustainable.
There needs to be a lot of self-discipline living in Bali.
Yeah, I agree.
So localized surfing for me, because I like to get up at 7 in the morning and then go down to the cafe in Seminyak, go through a bit of work there, then head down to the one in Legian, and I try and have some structure to my life like that. And then once I've done my work, then I can go surfing.
Okay, so you set little rules for yourself.
Yeah, little rules, and even a little bit of structure in my weekly life, like going to training on Tuesdays and Thursdays, maybe, just to keep a little bit of structure in life. Try not to party until the weekends. Try not to have too many bintangs until Friday night, which was really hard when we first moved here. Me and Jess were going out a lot. We're probably going out 3 nights a week, and that's not sustainable.
You got caught up in it.
Yeah, we definitely got caught up in it, but it was bound to happen, and I'm glad that it was only a short window. I'm definitely starting to feel like this is home now, and I've got a life here rather than it's a holiday and we're having a crack at something.
Do you feel like you work less hard than you did back in Wollongong?
I work differently. Yeah. So the last restaurant in Wollongong, I was working probably 10 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, behind the coffee machine or in the kitchen or on the floor. And then there was marketing and bookwork and everything else that comes with running a business was after hours. So that stuff got neglected. Now that I don't have to do 10 hours on the floor anymore, the stuff that used to get neglected gets a lot more focus. And I think they're actually the parts of the business that need the most focus. I think...
like, what are they?
just the marketing and the bookwork,
Marketing
and also focusing on how to develop your staff that are working for you and keep a harmonious working environment with your staff.
Because prior to that, you were behind the coffee machine 10 hours a day.
Yeah,
And
which we still kept a really good crew together when I was doing that, but I can focus more on it now. And in hospitality, I mean, it's got a high turnover of staff in most places, and I think one thing that can make your business successful in hospitality is holding on to staff. If Joe Blow from down the road walks in the cafe and sees his favourite barista and his favourite waiter every day for the next 4 years, he's going to keep coming back for 4 years. I think if he's confronted by someone making a different coffee and a different person serving him every day, then it makes it hard to form those relationships, and that comes through to your customers, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, people do take their coffee pretty serious.
Very seriously.
And personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, even myself. Like, I like to know who's making my coffee.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, I can gauge whether I'm going to have a good or a bad day by it.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you're saying. It's that not just drinking the coffee, it is the process of, going to the coffee shop and talking with the barista and how you going, and that familiarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're trying to say.
Can't talk. Yeah. Okay. So, do you think the business model of hospitality is more, what's the word I'm looking for? More legitimate here? More, I guess, easier to initiate? Like, I guess what I'm getting to is, like, are the overheads lower compared to Australia? Yeah,
the overheads are lower in different areas. Some things are very, very similar. Percentage-wise, your cost of goods are exactly the same here. People come here on a holiday and they think their breakfast is really cheap at $8.50 for an avo toast, whereas back in Sydney you're probably paying $20. But our cost of goods are exactly the same.
Right. But what makes it cheaper slightly?
Well, obviously,
Labour
if you
force.
scale it down, those the avocados are a bit cheaper, so that 30% is cheaper. So then obviously your price becomes cheaper. And then also the obvious one of labour and rent and tax. In Australia, I felt like I was working for the Australian government through paying tax and for my staff. Yeah, it's a very, very hard game in Australia. Made a lot easier here in Indonesia, and that's why so many businesses are thriving here.
Yeah, I've noticed, but I often think it's oversaturated, and I see people trying to do it. And we were talking about this morning. Like, see all these awesome setups, like these awesome cafes. They've got great food, great themes, great staff. And then for some reason, one cafe across the road will be completely full, and that the cafe across the road that's probably just as good is empty. Like, what makes the difference between a successful business, especially hospitality business, and a not successful one? Because you had success in Wollongong with the cafe you had there.
Yeah.
Why did it have the edge, and why do your cafes here have the edge over the?
I think it seriously comes down. I think it comes down to the culture within inside those four walls of your cafe. If you've got happy staff, it reflects out onto the customer. If your staff are happy, they're going to work harder. They're going to produce better quality goods. They're going to, I honestly think, I'm sure it's the same in a lot of industries, but for hospitality, I think if your staff are happy, you're going to have a successful business. I think it's as simple as that. And a lot of people back home and in Bali seem to have this romantic notion that they're going to own a cafe and do fuck all and not turn up, and it's going to run itself, and that's why they fail. They don't have a bond with their staff, and I think that's the number one to success in this game.
Wow, because you must have worked that out pretty early on.
I did. So Monsoon, the restaurant that I started at, I had a really great boss. who never penny pinched on us. The rules were when you got there in the afternoon, we had to have dinner together before we started work. So the shift would start at 6 o'clock, but we were expected to be there by 5:30 to sit down, have dinner together, catch up. Then all that was done, you got to work at 6 o'clock, and it was a much more happy environment to do that. And throughout your shift, if you got hungry, they would, put a meal on the table for you, and you could have a little snack, or, if it quietened down a little bit, you could go out the back for a cigarette. And it was nice, it was great having a boss that was flexible and respected your needs and not treated you like a slave. My next boss after that was at a little cafe in Wollongong called Limi, and they were penny pinchers. So there was no such thing as a staff meal to have whatever you wanted off the menu. It was very structured. There was a very beautiful menu that they created, but the staff were only allowed to have, say, poached eggs on toast, and that was it. And there was a staff menu, which didn't do them any favours, because guess what? We just stole the avocado out of the fridge.
But also, when you have a customer, they might look at the menu and go, "Oh, what's this like?"
Yeah, and you got no idea.
Speak with authority and go, "Oh, well, yeah, I just had that for breakfast. It's fucking awesome."
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's counterproductive.
Yeah. So as soon as I had that second boss, that was like that, it concreted in me that I'm never going to be like that. And then that's how Lower East was when we opened that. It was, the staff were allowed to have whatever they wanted, within reason. My head chef put on 20 kilos after the first 2 years of working for me, so we had to cut his aioli and chip intake down. Also the Red Bulls, they were costing me a fortune, but you know what? He was happy. So I think it was all worth it, It might have cost me an extra couple of grand at the end of the year, but he was happy and he produced a good quality produce, and we had a good harmonious family-like network in the cafe, and that's what made it succeed.
That's awesome, man, because when you think about it, you spend a majority of your life at your workplace.
Yeah.
And, if it's a negative place to go day in, day out, it's the worst.
Yeah.
It's like going to jail every day. And I love that. And, when you just mentioned Lower East, the cafe you had in Wollongong. I used to go there all the time, and, the food and coffee were good, but I'll be honest with you, you'd go in and you'd feel a vibe, and everyone just felt happy, and you could feel it as a customer.
Yeah.
And, I think that was the main driving force for me going back there,
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because then sometimes I'll see some of your staff who probably haven't worked there in years, and it's like, hey,
they'll still say hello.
It's like, hey, new friend.
Yeah.
So now that you're in Bali and you've so you sold your business in Wollongong.
Yep.
And you were like, I'm moving to Bali. I'm doing it in Bali. Why Bali?
My first roommate that I'd moved out with brought me to Bali in 2007. That was my first trip, and instantly fell in love with the place, which then started an annual trip here that I'd come for at least a month at a time. Every employee that I've ever had knew that I'm coming over to Bali in June, July or August, so make sure you book that in for me because I'm going. And yeah, I think there was actually a moment where I knew that I was going to move here, because I sat down, and I don't know if you remember Mark Brightwell. He made a movie called
It's a surf movie.
Surf movie, and it was viewed at the Wollongong Town Hall.
Yeah, I do remember, and it was just a lot of local surfers.
A lot of local surfers, and they had a section on Indo in it. And I remember sitting there. I would have been 22, I reckon. So I'd been going to Indo for about 4 or 5 years, and I remember they did like a little section on the beginning of the movie where they hop off the plane and they have the camera in front of them, point of view. Then they hop in the taxi, and then they drive those little back streets back into Kuta, hop out at the little homestay, and it was probably one that I stayed at. And I remember getting this overwhelming feeling of home. Which was really strange to have.
I can't believe you just said that. Keep going.
And I actually went home that night, and I was living with my dad at the time, and I remember getting home and saying, Dad, I just watched this movie, and it was about Indonesia, and particularly Bali and Kuta, and they did this point of view, and it felt like home. I sort of said, I'm going to move there one day.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind at the moment. Because I had the exact same epiphany, not from watching a surf movie.
Yeah.
But I was over here on a holiday, and I think I just went for a surf, and I was riding back to where I was staying. I didn't have my shirt on. The sun's going down. It was warm, and the sun was setting. I remember looking over my shoulder, and I just remember thinking to myself, I feel at home. I feel like I've found home.
Yeah.
It was really bizarre. And it was really profound. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm going to move here one day. And ironically, about 11 years ago, I put in a job application at the school I'm working at now.
Yeah, right. There you go.
And they never wrote back to me. And then, funnily enough, my wife actually found the email. She was going through her old email inbox because she was doing something for the school. And she's like, look at this, remember this? And now, like, I'm doing it. But I would have never guessed that I'd be doing it with 2 little kids, but let's not go there. But so like the magic, like what's the magic about it that draws you here?
I don't know.
It can't be just the surf.
No, it's not, and it wasn't really the surf in the beginning. I was very intimidated by the surf here, so I never really surfed a lot in Bali. The only time I'd ever surf would be when we went on a surf trip out of Bali to somewhere else, and then I'd have a little crack at it, but if it got over 4 foot, I wasn't going out, because the waves here compared to back home are very intimidating, especially compared to the city beach.
Best beach in the world.
Yeah, so it wasn't surfing. I don't know what it was in the beginning. I think what I loved about Indonesia and Bali was the rulelessness. So it felt like the Wild West, where we could get away with whatever we wanted to do, and I like that idea about business. I like it. I don't like in business things to be cut off by red tape. I like things to be a little bit malleable.
Yeah, okay, and that's what it is. Hey, like there's less.
Everything's possible if you go about it the right way. Everything's possible.
Yeah, like you're more accountable here. Like, like you just said, seems like there's less rules, but in a way there's more etiquette.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether it's like not just in the surf, but just in the way things are done. So yeah, like you can ride a motorbike without a helmet.
Yeah, I think
you don't have to have a driver's license.
Yeah.
Well, you probably do, and you can get away with it. But you make those decisions, and if shit goes bad, well, it's all on you. Yeah,
that was actually definitely the one thing that drove me to be here. Was definitely just feeling a little bit less
restricted,
yeah. Especially, I had a mate here about a year ago, and I remember we walked in the gym together, and he tripped on a little tiny piece of brick. It was a little tiny step, and he looked back and he went, "There should be some red and black tape on that," and I went, can you listen to yourself? You're from Australia. That's the way it's going back home, and that's what I hate about our home country, I just hate that there's a rule for everything, and that we can't be trusted to carry our beer from one venue to another. It just seems completely backwards to me, and that's what's driven me away from Australia, I think.
I agree. It's a nanny state, and it's I got tired of, and I still feel it, of just being, I feel like I'm being treated like a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
By the system over there.
Yeah.
You mentioned the thing about alcohol. I don't drink, but they've got all these rules around alcohol. You can't drink after a certain time. You can't leave a club. If you're intoxicated and the bartenders can't serve you, alcohol.
You're not allowed to have shots. Grown adults are not allowed to buy shots.
And I get it because
I kind of get it.
I get it because they want to look out for people. I was like, no, sorry, it's that person's responsibility.
Yeah.
And I know shit goes bad, especially while we're talking about alcohol. Things do go bad.
Yeah, for sure.
But most of the time, things are okay. Things go good, and maybe if you just started making people more accountable for themselves and taking personal responsibility.
Rather than locking everyone down into the same basket.
Yeah, isn't that communism when you have
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It feels, not that I am dissing Australia or, Wollongong where we grew up, but after being removed for 2 years and looking back at it now, and when I turn up on Australian shores, and I talk to my mates, and I just feel like they're all trapped on the same guinea pig wheel.
Yeah.
They're all trying to chase the same carrot in front of them, and it's actually really sad to see. I feel like there's definitely that carrot here in front of you, but it's not so. It's not so. Oh, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it.
I sort of know where you're going. Like, you're not striving as much as you were.
No, and I think the community as a whole is more accepting to your goals. And if you've got high goals, go for it. They might not support you in the beginning, but yeah. And I think things are more things are possible here in a third world country that's developing. You know. Whereas I feel like in Australia, there's sort of, you know, it's everything's black or white. You can either do it or you can't, and that's it.
Yeah, I see it. I mean, I don't want to go too deep on this, but I just really feel that a lot of people back home, and myself included, because I'm still very much connected to back home, and I do love it. I'm with you. Like there, I love Australia and I love Wollongong, but I feel like we're in this cycle of debt.
Yeah,
that is really hard to break.
Yeah, everyone's chasing
because of this mortgage. You know, this desire to have a big mortgage and have a big place, and then you're owned by the bank a lot of the time. And most people I know owe the banks hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay for something that they probably won't even own until they're 60 or 70. And then it's like, well, okay, was it worth it? But then you're paying all this interest. Like, I mean, I was calculating the interest I've paid banks on mortgages, and it's astounding. And it's money that you just never get back. It just disappears. Yeah. And I just think you mentioned that, you used that analogy, like the guinea pig wheel or the rat on a wheel. I felt like that. Whereas I think for me personally here, I feel like I am actually, and like you said at the start, like enjoying things more day by day and being in the present moment a lot more. Yep. And not sort of conforming to that programming that we had back home of just
go to work Monday to Friday.
Make sure your mortgage is paid. Yeah. Buy some stuff. Yeah. Make sure you got a decent car. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting.
And another point on the way in which Australia feels for me is last time I went home, my sister was in hospital, and
what's up there? Okay.
She ends up in hospital every now and again, just from the pressures of, I guess, her life and living with mum that had sent me in hospital too. No, she's great.
You said that.
She's great. Anyway, so I get home and mum explained to me, you know, your sister's in hospital, which I already knew, and she said to me, I don't want her to be in there too long. I feel like she's going to become institutionalised. And I said, Mum, take a look around. Like, I feel like everybody in Australia has become institutionalised a little bit, you know?
Yeah, bank institution.
Yeah, like, so it's just funny. It's only happened since I've been removed from it. I mean, when I was in that on that Ferris wheel with everyone else, it felt fine, you know. There's nothing wrong with it. And looking back, I was happy doing it too. It's just interesting being removed from it to look back on it. That's all.
Yeah, it's funny how you get some clear vision from the outside looking in. Yeah, and it's
bit of perspective.
And that's a good thing. And you going back to that, talking about getting out of your comfort zone. You don't get those perspectives unless you move out of your comfort zone. Yep. And you said you had this big decision to make to move over here. I mean, I had the same one. And then I think in the end, what solidified my decision was like, whether things go good or bad, I'm going to learn something. For sure. And it just turned out that things went great. Yeah. And they still are getting better for me and my family. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that. We're closer than we've ever been, and we spend more time together than we ever have. Yep. And I see it with you and your lifestyle. You definitely, I see a really happy dude who just wants to go surfing all the time, but you do work hard. I get that as well, but you've definitely, and actually Michael Klim said this the other day, and I've never heard this term, It seems like you've got a lifestyle by design.
Definitely. This is, for sure. I mean, I listened to his podcast of yours the other day, and when I heard that term, it definitely resonated with me for sure.
Yeah, and I think it sums up what you were saying about, you see all your friends and they're all programmed and institutionalized.
Yep.
Well, it's like, who actually says we have to live like that?
Yeah.
But everyone's situation's different, and again, I try not to judge anyone either. But when I look within, and I think I came to a point where it was like, well, am I really happy? What's my heart telling me?
I think I still question that.
What's that?
Am I really happy being here doing what we're doing?
Why are you questioning it?
I don't know. I think it's good to question it.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
And how do you define happiness? And if you say money, I'm gonna throw this microphone.
Hey, I'm sorry, but it definitely has a part.
Why?
For me, it does.
Why?
I just like feeling secure.
Why?
Financially, because I like to be able to do the things that I want to do.
Did you do without at one stage?
We can definitely do without. I mean,
no. Did you do without at one stage in your life?
Yeah, for sure. Mum and Dad weren't super well off at all growing up. I mean, I don't think I went without anything too much. But I mean, when me and Jess moved here, we didn't have much money at all. The first year, me and Jess were living off rice and chicken and cap cake from down at the market. Like seriously,
Is that because you went all in?
That's because we went all in.
Well, describe it to us. What did you go all in on?
We went all in on the cafe and also our life. Like we had to, when we moved here, we had to do a villa for yearly rental, which is quite a chunk of money. $17,000 was our first villa. So
the whole year's rent up front.
The whole year's rent up front. So that was a big chunk. And then obviously also building the business was quite a lot of money. And we went over, of course, as every business or building ever does. So thanks, Mum, for helping me out. And
how good are mums?
And when we opened, we had sort of a natural disaster that happened when we opened. 6 weeks after, we had the volcano go off in Bali, and a lot of negative media from all over the world stopped people coming. So I used to be able to get from my house to the cafe on a bike in about 10 minutes. If I was in a car, it'd be 45 minutes with traffic. Just after the volcano went off, it was taking me 5 minutes in a car, not passing another car.
It was like a ghost town.
It was like ghost town. Like, I don't know where all the even Indonesians went, but there was no one here. And we got down to $500 in our bank account between me, Jess, and the business. I remember calling Mum and saying, Mum, I think you might have to book me a flight home because we've got no money to pay the staff this month.
And what was her response?
And luckily Christmas was around the corner, and Mum said, hey, you've got 6 days till Christmas, can you hold out? And I was like, I don't know, like, I really don't want to ask you for any more money, so it's not going to I'd just rather just come. I think it's all over. I think it's done. And I didn't actually even voice this with Jess. I've spoken to Jess about this probably a year later, and she said, I didn't realise it got that bad.
So you didn't
no, because I
I
tried to take it on myself, and there was definitely some sleepless nights happening.
Why'd you want to feel inclined to take it on?
Because I felt like I dragged her here, and I felt like I didn't want to disappoint her, and so that was pressure on me for sure. And luckily we did wait, because Christmas came around and we killed it for the next 10 days, and that got us afloat enough to pay the bills that we had outstanding, and then little by little it's grown each month and each year.
Really dark days at the start there.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them dark at all. It was definitely challenging, but I never seen them as dark. It was just a challenge that we had to overcome, and it was from no fault of our own. If it was something that was self-produced, that we were in that situation, I probably would have looked at it differently. But because it was something that was out of our hands, it didn't seem to affect me too much, although that I was worried that we were going to run out of money.
Yeah.
So we're definitely on rice and chicken.
No way, dude.
Yep.
See, they're the best success stories. I read a stat that most self-made millionaires go bankrupt twice in their life.
Well, that was a close one for me.
And I've even I mean, I won't go into details, but I know someone who's close to our family who went bankrupt once and then actually then got ripped off. He has a business and then got ripped off a large amount of money. He's in the construction industry. And it was all doom and gloom, but very similar to you in terms of he's able to keep this even sort of temperament and demeanour. He doesn't let his emotions overrun him. And I think that is a real testament to your success. You seem like you're very emotionally stable.
Yeah.
But I don't know what goes on within. But again, now he is, mate, he's back and he's learnt some lessons and he's not going to make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
And he's learnt the hard way, and it's unfortunate that sometimes some people you have to learn the hard way. And then in your case, I mean, you can't predict when a fucking volcano is going.
No, I know.
But you held the course.
Yeah.
And you stayed. You held the course, and you stuck to the plan.
And I'm sure there's going to be many more to come that we're going to have to overcome. And that was definitely a good learning curve for us.
Yeah. So that was that business. The first one was where is it? It's in
Wollongong?
No, Lower East was in Wollongong,
Yep.
and then when you got to Bali, it was
Seminyak.
Okay, and that is called
Coffee Cartel.
Okay, and so then that started to gain some momentum.
Grabbed some momentum, yeah.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about marketing. I mean, how did you build them? How did you build the momentum?
Yeah, so
through your marketing strategies.
So when we moved here, my girlfriend Jessie, as I said, I roped her into moving over here. I gave her a little goal before we moved over here to get her involved in the business, and I said, if you can come up with a certain amount of money to at least get us by in the first year for the villa, you're on board with the cafe, and we're doing this together. And she way surpassed what I expected her to bring to the table, so it showed her commitment. And then throughout operating and opening the business, her marketing skills came out that she didn't even know that she had, and also running our Instagram, which has been pivotal in the success of the business, because I feel like people are now looking to come to Bali and knowing our name of our restaurant before they've even been there. And that's through marketing, and that's through
social media
through Jessie pumping that up, and we wouldn't be here for today if it wasn't for that Instagram account.
Does she have a marketing background or marketing degree?
Nothing at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Just self-taught.
Got a very good eye for it, and can do things that I have no time for whatsoever. So I'm glad that she's on board, and I'm glad that we're doing it together.
Good team.
Very good team.
Do you have any credentials in terms of your business background? Did you do a degree in business?
I've got nothing. I think I
self-taught.
I think I got pretty much flunked the HSC, I think.
Didn't we all?
Yeah, no. but I got some special consideration because my car got broken into about 6 weeks before the HSC, and they stole all my notes. So I put my hand up and went, I need special consideration. I've got no notes. So they gave me a 70, but I definitely didn't deserve it.
No way.
Yeah.
So what, you just went, oh my God, I've lost all my notes.
Yeah.
And
so I got teachers' notes and and I played it, and I went, hey.
Dude, well played.
But then it meant nothing to me anyway.
Well, you weren't going to go to uni.
I wasn't going to go to uni, but I didn't want a big fat 0 on the HSC though, did I?
No, but seriously, has anyone ever asked you to show them your HSC results?
I feel like
other than a university.
I feel like university is just an extension of high school these days, and even when it was becoming an option to me, and it's just a money thing. That's all it is. I feel like the kids are just getting ripped off.
For sure.
Yeah. Most of the people that I've met in my lifetime, older or younger, that are successful, have dropped out of high school, or have maybe got their HSC, maybe not done too well. The ones that have gone through university and been successful are the ones that academia, the ones that are doctors or things that you do need to study for. There's not much. I don't know anyone that's got a commerce degree that's done really well in life yet.
I do, but Well, again, how do you
Well,
measure?
not commerce. You know,
Well,
what's
yeah.
what's the arts degree? Sorry, not commerce.
Yeah,
arts degree.
okay.
Anyone that's got an arts degree that's done well.
But when I say done well, I mean he's got a shitload of money, but he works 70 hours a week for a
Yeah,
bank.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's happy as he's a legend. I fucking love him. But yeah, that's not for me,
Yeah, it's not for me either.
and that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear that because, I mean, universities, in my opinion, are dictating education. They're below them, like they're dictating.
Yeah, and it
High
felt that way coming through high school
Yeah.
too. Every turn that we came to in high school, I remember teachers saying, "This is going to be what gets you into university. So make sure that you do well at it." And I'm thinking, I don't even
wanna
want to
go
go
to
to
uni.
university.
I know, but no one to talk about it. Yeah, that's weird, and and like there is a place for it, but the percentage is smaller than the percentage that don't want to go. I mean,
I think it's.
in
I think the
Australia-
percentage that are actually going for the right reasons
Mm.
would be quite small.
Yeah,
That's probably why there's a big dropout rate, I guess. So would there be a big dropout rate?
in university.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
I know the stats around it. I mean, a lot of young people that transition straight from high school to university drop out in the first 2 years.
Yeah.
But then there's an interesting statistic that mature age students, they have the best success rate. So
Yeah,
the
that
ones,
makes sense.
The ones that have actually left school, work for a few years, then go back to university and study. And I'm one of them. Like, I didn't go to university till I was 24, 25.
Yep.
So, and it was something I just felt that I really wanted to do.
And you're ready for it, and you can commit to it.
Yeah, but in hindsight, it doesn't mean I'm any happier. And the skills I learnt there were more around, not the actual academia side of it. It was more having to do a lot of group work and collaborate with other people.
Structure in your
Learn
life.
how to communicate on a professional level.
Yeah.
Those things helped me. I mean, and also develop my writing skills because I did a degree in education, a 4-year education degree, and it actually improved my literacy, and that's about it really. Most of the learning I had came from when I did internships while I was at university at schools where you work for free, and that was when I was learning shit like on the job.
On the job.
Just like you,
Yeah.
you know. And I get real as a teacher. I know I've been a teacher for 14, 15 years. I'm really protective of young people who feel this pressure that they have to go to university. And that's where I feel like you're a really good example of that. Like, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Make your own.
I feel like Lower East was my university. That's
sure.
where I learned everything.
You
And
did.
that was through failure and success and a little bit of guidance from mum and dad.
Mhm.
And I think that was the best way to learn it. I think if I tried to learn what I learned in 6 years at that little cafe at a university,
Well, you couldn't.
it never would have happened. And I think that's what set me up to
Yeah.
make this a successful venture as well, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And like that whole notion of making your own luck. Like, I feel like that's what you did.
Yeah. There's
went-
definitely a lot of luck involved too, I think.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like there is a lot of luck involved. I mean, maybe persuaded luck. I'm trying to push the luck through the door, but it definitely. I really do think there's a little bit of luck involved.
But there's some because
You got to be at the right place at the right time. You know, there is luck involved.
How old were you when that opened?
When
When you opened Lower East?
21.
You were 21.
I was 21, and
you-
I don't recommend anyone does it actually,
And you were,
because it was fucking stressful. I lost 10 kilos in the first.
dude, you look good.
I lost 10 kilos in the first 3 months of opening that place.
From stress.
From stress. Yeah.
Well, you got to learn, mate.
Yeah. And that was a huge learning curve. Going from, I thought I could do it.
And you were 21, managing how many staff? Like,
In the beginning, there was probably only 5 or 6 of us. At the peak of that place, there was 16 full-time staff in a little 45-seat cafe, maybe 40 seats, really.
Yeah.
We probably had 50 seats out, but half of them you couldn't use because the place was too small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, though, that place became a Wollongong institution.
Yeah, it's good to see it's still kicking too, and
It's great. I've been there. The new owners are doing a great
yeah,
job.
yeah, it's
Food's
good.
Awesome.
Good to see that it's still still operating and still doing well. And actually, one of my chefs is still working there, so that's even better to see.
Dude, that's a testament to your success, because if they're still happy in that environment, I think you've created that.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm gonna ask you this again. Okay.
What's up?
Because I got to know. How do you measure success?
Okay.
Okay. So because you just said then.
Yeah, I brushed over it a little bit.
I'm sorry, because you just said then
cash.
my original. No, fuck off. No, wait. So you just said then that you're the same chef still works there.
Yeah.
So you effectively created a lifestyle for that guy. He might have kids. He might be supporting a family.
Yeah.
Because of your idea.
Yeah, I've thought about that before, and quite recently, because we had a staff meeting where we had 27 staff.
At both your cafes.
Both the cafes now. We've got 27 staff, and me and Jess pulled ourselves aside and went, "Wow, these 27 people rely on us."
But hang on, how many other people rely
and then
on them?
the trickle on effect. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I mean, I'm sure there's people who have kids there.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
you're
our head
supporting
chef.
families?
Yeah, our head chef came up to me the other day. We gave him a little bonus. He's been with us for 2 years. Sorry, a pay rise, not a bonus. And he said to me, "Boss, I just bought my house, which we signed his papers for and everything." And he said, "Now that I've got my pay rise, I'm going to buy Mum and Dad a house." And we're like, "Wow, that's amazing." So maybe
your idea.
Yeah, maybe the.
How does that make you feel when you hear that?
Yeah, it's unreal. And after hearing that the other day, I sort of had a little think about the people's lives that I might have put on a better course, maybe through working for us at one stage or another. I can think of definitely 2 or 3 of them that were little dirtbags when they started for us, and have turned out into good people.
Can we say his name?
Bodie Toloff.
Fucking love that. I fucking love that guy.
I love him too. I love him so much.
He's so real.
Yeah. So he started for me as just a fill-in for the first day, and then he ended up working for me for 6 years, and now we're really great mates. Going to see him at Christmas. Can't wait to see him.
And he's like a professional poker player. Didn't he win like all this money in Vegas?
Professional bullshit artist. He's learned a lot from me.
You're not a bullshit artist. You're not a bullshit artist.
No. No, but he's doing well now.
Dude.
He's doing well now, and he would not be there if it wasn't for us nurturing him through his late teenage years.
Why?
That's for
what
sure.
Was he like? Just getting up to
he was
mischief.
Just a dirtbag. He wouldn't mind me saying that either.
Did you like get him back on track?
Yeah, definitely. We've had long conversations about it before. Yeah,
So
and it's good. It's good.
So you helped him get his shit together in some ways.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't mind it. It might sound like big noting myself, but I really did help Bodie, and it was good to. It's good to do that. It feels unreal. And yeah, probably a bit of a. Like I've said a few times, we try and. In the businesses that I've had, that we try and have more like a family sort of feel to the group of people that are working for us, and I guess that's a product of it, and I guess that's definitely a measure of the success of our businesses, and probably for myself too.
Yeah, when you think about it, you've helped people buy houses, support families, get their shit together. Yeah. And then when I say, how do you measure success, you're like, cash. But I don't think you mean that.
No, of course not. Nah.
You just like buying new surfboards all the time.
You know what? I actually, you said to me the other day, you found another bargain. I still don't like spending full price on anything. I don't care how much money's in the bank.
See, you're a fucking tight ass.
Yeah, I think I am down at heart, thanks to Mum.
But it's like my parents are the same. Like they were like, I'll be honest, they did well. They worked their whole lives, and then my stepdad was like, I'm retiring at 55, and he did. He retired at 55, which is young.
Yeah, real young.
And they really have a lifestyle by design. They got a motorhome. They just travel in Australia, do whatever they want. Bounce between seeing my brother and his kids, and then us, and they're super happy. But they're at the fucking op shop looking for jackets for winter, but not because it's not about, and it's not about the money.
Yeah,
it's about the game.
Yeah,
they enjoy it. They enjoy that process, and they don't like to waste things. And money's just one of those things. They like to be conservative, and they enjoy living like that. And I see it so much, and I've had moments myself, like the more you have, the more you want to spend. And I feel like you see these people who maybe get a little bit of financial success and then they just go and buy a sports car, a new boat, and then they're back to where they started.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite with spending money. I would go for dinner and enjoy a great night out with friends and will not even flinch at spending $400 on a dinner, okay? But if I look at a surfboard and it has $1,000 price tag, there's no chance in the world I'll buy it.
See, if you spoke to my mate Lance, he would argue with you till he's blue in the face because he's like, life's too short to be riding shit surfboards.
Yeah, but I think life's too short to be buying material things. I'd rather have experiences with my money, not things.
Dude, I'm fist pumping the air. That's right. It's true.
Yeah,
so
and
I love that.
Yeah, and it's something that I've actually realised myself quite recently that I when I was younger I used to like things because I wanted to look cool in front of other people and have the fast car and have the and spend the money that way. Now I can't give a shit, and I think living in Bali is part of that. Nobody wants to have the newest or the greatest here, and nobody's showing it off either, which is a good environment to be in, and that's why I prefer to spend money on experiences now than on things.
Dude, that's the best. I agree. I'm happy to drop money on a nice night out with friends.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like going back to the whole Bali thing, yeah, you only have to. Okay, we live in a fairly western area, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's not. You only have to drive 10 minutes that way, and it's nothing but rice paddies and maroons and local people living in tin sheds.
Yeah, tin sheds.
But
for
like
sure.
the whole family live, and they're happy.
Yeah.
And you really see it because and that's I think the big difference between our cultures is that they don't seem to be striving. It's like they don't place a value on money. They place value on family, community.
Yeah.
I'm sure they want money, but I mean, I don't know how many locals have turned down work. I'm trying to get a gardener at the moment, but they're all like, "Yeah, I already work a few days. I don't really feel like working anymore. I don't need the money. I've got enough to buy some food." Like
And
they're
that's
not
it.
trying to like save some money so they can go and buy something.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that's what we do. This consumer culture that we've been brought up in.
Yeah.
It's really oppressive.
Yep. And I think that's the one thing that I probably hate about home now too. Is, I mean, I love all my mates and I love that they're doing well, but they've all got the fast cars and the white picket fence, and it doesn't appeal to me whatsoever anymore.
Are they happy though? Do they seem happy?
I hope so.
Okay.
As looking in, I'm sure a lot of them are happy, but I think they're happy with their eyes closed.
Gotcha.
To the rest of the world and what's available.
They're maybe not aware of
what
else is possible.
What else is possible, yeah. And coming from a small coastal town, I would think Wollongong sort of is. I think you're sort of sheltered from the world a little bit.
Yeah.
Although a lot of Australians travel and get overseas and see parts of the world. Everyone seems to magnetise back to Wollongong somehow.
Like, have you always been attracted to travelling?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, when we were in the Gong and being young and trying to get out of the Gong as much as I could, I realised how much I loved the Gong, and then wanted to stay there forever if I could because I really loved it.
It's a good place.
And I still love it now.
Love the Gong.
But I think there just becomes a time in the lifetime that you can have in one place. I don't know. So a lot of friends moved away, and it just didn't become the place that I wanted it to be anymore. If everyone stayed there like I did, I think it would have been great. We could have had a great little community happening down there. But most of my mates moved away, so it sort of forced me to start thinking of different options.
Yeah, I agree. It's I see it as well. And I want to go back to that whole, we're just talking about, people with like that consumer mentality. I seen it when I went back just recently. It was very much about just, we've got to go shopping. We just got to go buy more stuff. And then my kids got showered with all this stuff because we've got way less toys and stuff for them to play with here. It's more like, no, go out and go for a swim in the pool.
Yeah.
Let's go for a walk over the rice paddies, or let's go down the beach. And funnily enough, my 4.5-year-old, she got progressively, I think, grumpier and grumpier, and she'd play with the toy
Because
for
of
like
things.
It was making her grumpy.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because 4-year-olds are very, I mean, they're just so real. It's like there's no bullshit.
No filter.
There's no filter. Yeah, it's really, really interesting what you talked about. But you know what? I've got a more important thing I want to ask you. Like, this is serious.
Okay.
Tell me, you must have this in your mind. What would you consider one of the best waves you've ever caught? Talk me through it. There's got to be one.
All right.
Come on.
I can't even think of what the place is called now. Puckies.
Fuck off. Are you telling me
The
your
creek
best...
mouth.
Wait. You're telling me your best wave ever was in Wollongong?
Yeah, I still think it was Puckies. I remember this
Why?
left hand barrel that I got out Puckies was just incredible, and probably helped that every single one of my mates seen it because they were down the line.
Dude, that's definitely okay. Like that's good.
I think I would have been about
You're
16,
what?
17 maybe.
Okay.
And
Talk me through it.
I just remember standing up and getting to the bottom, not really having to bottom turn. It was a big day. So I literally got to the bottom of the wave, and then the rest of the wave threw over my head, and all I had to do was navigate the wall as it would have been a normal wave, but I was inside the barrel.
Right.
And every single one of my mates seen it, and I just remember paddling back out, high-fiving everyone, and just couldn't believe it. So that was... It probably wasn't the best wave I've ever had, but it felt like the best wave I've ever had, and it still sticks in my mind today.
Good overall experience.
Good overall experience, yeah.
It's cool, man.
Yeah.
Because like, I guess over the course of my surfing, there's a handful of waves that I just remember. Like, there's at least 3 or 4 that I'm just like, yeah, like.
I'm starting to forget them, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah,
I remember the recent ones, that's for sure.
Do you find like surfs just blend together?
Yeah.
I can't remember a specific.
Sometimes I paddle back out and someone asks me, how was that wave? And I go, I can't even fucking remember it, to be honest. Was it good? Seriously. Sometimes,
Bizarre.
sometimes I'm that blasé about being in the water that I don't even really remember the wave that I just surfed.
Is that just because it's just part of who you are now?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Probably is.
Yeah.
It's just like going through the motions, like it's just...
Yeah, and probably because I don't care about, like I said before, what other people think of my surfing anymore.
Do you feel a lot of freedom from that?
In the surf, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I used to feel like a bit of pressure in the ocean, you know?
Pressure from what, though?
Just your peers.
Ridicule.
Yeah.
You might get hassled.
Maybe. But never have been hassled for my surfing, ever. I don't think anyone's ever said to me, you're a shit surfer.
Or you're scared of...
Even if you were,
or
you
maybe
know?
what people think. And not
More
say.
what people think,
Like,
yeah,
you don't
for
want
sure.
people to think you're a kook.
Yeah.
But that could all be in your head too.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. I'm scared of that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in not just surfing, in life. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Carry that fear a lot. That fear of judgment.
So you carry a bit of fear too, do you?
For sure. I do, man. Like,
yeah, see, I think my fear is very similar to your fear.
When you say your fear, like in business or life? In life.
Everything.
Yeah. I think we all have it, but we don't talk about it. And it's okay. And I think once you acknowledge it, it takes the power out of it.
Yeah,
and then,
for sure.
And then next thing you know, you feel better. And a big thing for me was, I mean, even starting a podcast, like it's something I wanted to do for years, but I was so scared of ridicule and judgment by my peers or friends or anyone that might know me. They're going to be, you know, who knows what they might think or what they might say.
Yeah.
And they might think, I still cringe at my own voice a little bit, but but that's in my head. Like, but then it's who I am. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
And it's like, it wasn't till I moved to Bali, I found sort of the fear seemed to drop away. Maybe it's because I'm removed a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do if I ever get some sort of negative comment. Yeah. I'm probably just going to fall into the fetal position and cry myself to sleep.
I don't think you'll get too many negative comments.
But what I'm saying is, it's amazing how much fear can control people.
For sure.
Yeah, it's deep.
Real deep.
Yeah. So, man, yeah, that was your best wave of Puckies. That's unbelievable. Yeah, look, I've had a couple of memorable ones in Wollongong. I mean, more than a few memorable ones in Wollongong. There's one place in particular which I don't want to say the name of because People are protective of it.
Oh, oilies.
No.
Oh.
God, but yes, I had a memorable. Actually,
Yeah,
I had a really memorable one there. It was
Yeah, me too.
maybe 6 or 7 years ago. It was pumping. The sand was amazing.
It's back on at the moment too.
Ah, stop it! And it is a sick wave. And I remember I'd surfed it the day before, and it was a bit onshore, but it was big, and my confidence was up. Like I've always felt confident out there. And I don't forget, like I paddled out.
Wait, are we talking about oilies still? Or?
Oilies.
Oh, yeah.
And I paddled out against the wall, and the rip took me straight out into the inside position. And this bomb came. And like there was 2 other dudes out there, and I'm like, does anyone want it? Does anyone? And no one was paddling. Like, you don't want it? I'm just like, no one's going. And I just turned and went, and it was a fucking unbelievable wave. And coincidentally, 2 of my good friends from Cronulla, who are really good surfers, they were just paddling out.
They
and seen it.
See,
Didn't get barreled or anything.
They're the memorable ones.
They are, man, because you want to share.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
You want to share the stoke.
It's a personal practice that
Yeah.
you want other people to see you do really well at.
Well, it's not, but it's the sharing the stoke. Like that's what bums me about surfing sometimes. Like I see some dudes get the sickest wave or barrel, and then they just pop off the back, sort of blow their nose and pretend like it didn't happen. I'm like, come on, man. Or you get a good wave and you know that this dude's seen it, but then they just don't make eye contact with you.
The other day at Chippy's when that old man went off, that was fucking epic.
It's cool. I'm like, you stoked him out.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what it should be about. Like, and that's why I love skateboarding so much, because most of the time you get to a skate park and like if you do something good, like the crew are like, yeah, everyone's cheering each other on and pushing each other.
Yeah, there isn't that in the surf, is there? No one goes, wow, I just seen you do that. I think I've had, I think I try and say that to people. I don't know.
Yeah, like, and I'm actively trying to change that. If I see some random dude get a good wave, I'll be like, yeah. And that's why sometimes I even like surfing at Old Man's in Batu Belong, because there's so many beginners and intermediates, and the stoke is
and
real.
They're frothing.
And they haven't put up those barriers of coolness yet. And
it's like Jess at the moment learning.
Yeah.
He's absolutely frothy.
Yeah, and they want everyone to see this wave, and they're poos dancing all the way to the beach.
Double arm claims.
Yeah, and they're just having the best time. I'm like, and now like I'll be cheering. I'm going, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
you.
for sure. Yeah.
But when do we lose it?
Yeah, I know. It's sad, isn't it? Really. We need to change it. I'm gonna start complimenting one surfer every session now.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yeah.
All right,
one surfer every session.
Same.
They've got to do something all right.
Same.
Yeah.
I dare to do it to the dude that snakes you.
I was going to punch him in the head today.
You got dropped in on this morning, so did I.
Yeah, I wanted to kill him.
Couldn't believe it. It fell out of the sky.
Yeah, did the same thing to me.
So this is where I've mellowed. I just went.
Nah, see, I've my temper's gotten worse since I've moved here.
What?
Heaps worse.
Why?
Jess will tell you that.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's just the dealing, and it's not their fault at all. Dealing with language barriers gets frustrating, and then in turn gets me angry. Not for their fault, just because I'm a stupid bulle that should have learnt their language already.
You just get tired as well, eh?
Yeah,
it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's exhausting, and then that sometimes passes on into my personal life a little bit. As in, like, in the surf and whatever. Yeah. Yeah,
it's really hard to switch that stress off.
And also here, everyone dropping in on each other. I don't get it. It's dangerous.
It's bizarre.
It's not cool. And then the guy that did it today, I almost want to go up to him and say, there's like 15 grommets in the water. You're the oldest guy out here, and you're setting the example. And you're the one dropping in on other people. It's
true, but then again, he knows... And he has to live with himself. So after he dropped in on me, did you notice?
Yeah, he paddled in.
He paddled over to the sandbank.
Yeah.
Because and I was trying to make eye contact with him. I wasn't going to say anything. I was just want to acknowledge that what happened.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He just that's his shame. He's got to carry that. And you know what? Good luck with that.
Yeah. I definitely drop in on people sometimes.
Why?
Only if I think they're not going to make a section or something. And I've been pulled. I've been pleasantly surprised by people making sections before and then being in their way.
It happens at the river mouth all the time because the way that wave wedges up.
Yeah. I can see why people do drop in sometimes here, because waves do look unmakeable here. And then all of a sudden you're across the whole wave. Yeah,
it took me a while to work that one out.
Yeah, and I think that's it's probably the tourist element here that are used to the waves back home, and then they come here and it's... You get pushed across the wave a lot easier.
Would you say you're a snake?
No. I'd say I'm aggressive.
What do you mean aggressive?
I think I'm an aggressive surfer that is used to South Beach where there's 50 other guys in the water and you had to be aggressive to get waves.
It is aggressive there.
Yeah, you had to be aggressive to get waves, otherwise you're not getting waves. And I think it set me up really well to be able to surf here in crowds.
Aggressive or assertive?
I feel it as... I said this to Jess the other day. I said, you got to know that when you're surfing, it's like playing a game of chess. You got to move the pack with you when you don't want them to be somewhere. So I'll paddle somewhere, and I did it to Jess the other day at playgrounds at Lembongan, and I paddled across the wave and moved the whole pack into the wrong section, and then I paddled back and got the next set.
No way.
And I said, Jess, see, it's a game of chess.
Dude, my mate Lance was just saying this the other day. Exact same thing.
If you know, I think you've got to be getting a couple of waves too, and then people sort of look to you to where you're sitting, and then if you can drag a pack anywhere, then it's funny, human nature.
Yeah, interesting. Do you think people are sheep?
100%.
And you're like a wolf amongst the sheep?
I like to think so. Whether I am or not, I don't know, but I like to think so. Yeah, no, I can't handle sheepish people.
You can't handle them?
No.
Like they sound intolerant.
Like when you go to... Okay,
people?
so perfect example. You go to the airport, right? And they call your planes ready to board. Everyone gets up and stands in that line.
Oh, dude, I can't.
Why does everyone get up and stand in that fucking line? You're not going to get on the plane any quicker. Nobody, you just stood up because the other guy stood up. Like,
oh my God, man,
you're all sheep.
Jade and I argue about this. It took me years to get her out of the mentality. Because, dude, you wait for everyone to get on. You get on last. Then when you put your stuff in the overhead carriage, it's on top.
Yep.
Then when you get off, it's the first to come off.
Yep. But they're not even the reason. I just don't like doing it because everyone else is doing it. I don't want to be that. I don't want to stand up with everyone else. And I think they're stupid for doing that.
It's a metaphor for your life, mate.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, our business partner for Coffee Cartel Thai is exactly like me. He is very much so not the sheep.
Is that why you're a good partnership?
Yeah, for sure. He's unreal. And he definitely is not a sheep at all. And I think that's why we get along. Me and him going through an airport, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny to watch. And if Jess is there, she's losing her mind. Definitely being aggressive.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't think you are aggressive.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't come across as aggressive.
Yeah, because I'm doing it secretly.
So you're internalizing your aggression.
Yeah, it is. It's secret aggression towards
That's hilarious.
The sheep around me.
Has Ty been like a mentor to you?
Massively.
In what way?
Oh, hugely. Just opening my eyes to what's possible in business. If me and Jess had come here and opened this business on our own, we would have opened the one in Seminyak and been stoked with it, being like, yep, cool, we've done it, we're making a bit of money, and that's it. I think we still would have grown that business in itself continually until we sold it or whatever might have happened. But Ty has instilled this different mentality in business for me, trying to expand it at a rate that doesn't make sense to me, but it's working. But it's from his pushing, and it's having a multi-faceted business where there's different income streams rather than relying on just our cafe, which is not something that I would have ever. I wouldn't have thought about it myself. So it's taken his leadership to do that. And also he's lived here before in Indonesia, so that guidance made it feel comfortable doing it with him also. And just we get along really well, so that makes it even easier.
You got a good chemistry?
Yeah, for sure. Before we bought the business, before we started the business together, I'd known him for 5-minute chats in the surf. That was it. And I said I was moving to Indo and I wanted to open a cafe, and he said, I'd love to too, can I come? Pretty much. And I said, well, I'm going next week, I'm going for 10 days. He said, all right, book my flight, gave me his phone number. I'd never spent more than 5 minutes with him in the surf. Right. And then we came and spent 10 days together in Indonesia and had an absolute ball.
Sick.
We had a great time, not only discovering what was possible here business wise, but talking about old times for him here, and things that I'd got up to here and things that he's been up to here, and it's just we get along really, really well.
I really like what you said about having multiple income streams and not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, so I would have, like I said, just been happy with the cafe, which I was in Wollongong, and it would have just happened the same way, So it's been good to have that. So
is that where the roasting idea?
Yeah, it was all. I mean, it was all Thai with the roasting and that, which I'm still, to be honest, a little bit skeptical about to see if it's going to be a good income stream, but I'm going to push it as hard as I can to make sure that it becomes one. And hopefully in the future we look back at it and think, wow, that was a great idea.
Well, I mean, you've already established a brand.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see if it flows on. Looking at dollars and cents and profit margins and how much you need to turn over for it to become profitable and how much we spent on the setup, it doesn't make sense to me, but I trust his guidance, and that's why we've done it.
Okay. Trust the process.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's been successful in it back home, so that's why we're chasing the same footprint as what he had back home, blueprint. Sorry. Yeah,
and maybe be willing to cut your losses if you have to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all the money that we've invested in the place are all assets. It's not. There's no goodwill valued in those businesses at the moment.
Just turning it back into the
so there's no goodwill in it. It's just what we've put in we could get back. So, and we could probably even get a little bit more back because we got a really good deal on it.
Nice. But I mean, it seems like the coffee market would be quite competitive. But do you feel like there's enough of a market to sustain another roasting company in Bali?
Yeah, so the way in which we're going about it is different to what is available on the market here in Bali at the moment. There's still a sort of old school way of looking at espresso and manual brew tasting profiles. I like to think that Australia's got an edge when it comes to cafe culture, and it pretty much dictates the rest of the world in what way that they drink their coffee, which is pretty crazy for a population of 24 million. But we're doing it an Australian sort of way, a modern Australian sort of way, which is a really lightly roasted, high quality bean. Whereas what's available on the market here is a really poor quality local bean with being over roasted to be able to get the flavour profiles out of it.
But when you say poor quality, like poor quality as in how it's grown?
Poor quality can be many different things in coffee.
Or the way it's stored afterwards? Or
storage, processing, many different things that can affect the taste and quality of a coffee, and they're sold quite cheaply, so that's why the roasters that have been here buy those cheap beans and then try and get the best out of them, which is over roasting.
Yeah, and I mean, would you say you're sort of going for more of a boutique market?
Boutique market, but I'm definitely not going to close the doors at boutique market. If we can get some big fish on the line, we'll definitely go down that path. In the way of hotels or I don't know, supermarket chains or whatever. If that opportunity comes up, I'd definitely love to go down that path too.
It's going to sound superficial, but I just think you've got a rad name.
Coffee Cartel.
I just reckon it's rad. Like,
it is good.
It's easy, it's simple, and it lends perfectly to a distribution company.
Yeah.
First it's coffee, then it's meth.
Yeah, I had a funny conversation with my staff yesterday afternoon, and they said, "Boss, why did you call the blend the Capos blend?" And I said, "Well, have you heard? The Mexican cartel? Okay.
Is that what you're doing?
The Mexican
Different
cartel.
cartels.
The head of the cartel is the Capos.
No
He's like the big boss. So that's our first one. That's our big boss."
Course.
I said the next one's the Sicario. And the Sicario is the assassin, so that's going to be our next one.
And you're going to kill him.
And they said, why with all the drug names? And I said, because coffee's a drug, and we're dealing coffee every day. So we're kind of like a cartel. And I said, I've been dealing drugs since I was 13. They all gave me a look like, oh, what? Huh? And I was like, no, coffee. I started in coffee when I was 13, so...
No, it's true. It is a drug.
Yep. Legal drug. Been legal drug dealing for a long time.
Legal drug, but you still can maintain a job and
A normal
family, and you don't have to go and do bad stuff to get money for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people might. Yeah, man. It's been good chatting with you, brother.
You too.
It's been epic, actually. It's
Yeah.
been an hour and 43 minutes.
Holy shit.
Like, I was worried. Like, I was like, this dude's not going to be able to talk for 10 minutes.
Thanks. No substance.
Yeah. So, like, is there anything else you want to say?
That's it, mate. Just thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Dude, it's been a pleasure. Like, I've always been, like, I mean, I've sort of known you for probably like 10 or 15 years now.
Yeah.
But not really hung out until sort
Since
of
I was
recently.
about 21, 22.
Yeah. But I remember
10
you
years.
I remember you as a grommet at
Oh, yeah,
South
okay,
Beach.
okay.
Yeah, with your little friggin' posse of gangsters. But yeah, like, so I've sort of, I mean, your face has always been around. Like,
Yep.
I think we used to live in the same building. And
Yep.
Yeah, man. And sort of, I guess I have seen the journey, like, especially in your adulthood.
Yep.
You know, and I think what really impresses me is, like, from the outside, I feel like you conduct yourself as a really strong adult, man. I'm not sort of blowing smoke up your ass. Like,
Thank you.
you conduct yourself in a very, this kind, approachable manner, and I do mean it when I say I think those qualities have lent to your success the most. Not so much that aggressive,
Cash hungry.
which I don't think I don't think that's where I'm really a firm believer too, that I don't think that's where your success is. I really, from my perspective, I personally rate your success as someone who has created incomes and lifestyles for a lot of other people.
Yep.
And I think that they appreciate that more than you probably know, and it's really special, man. And I think money is a byproduct of those things.
For
And
sure.
I think and that whole philosophy of looking after your staff first sort of goes in line with that saying, like, people before profits. And I do think that, you do take care of people first. I mean, I really do think money is a byproduct of that. So,
Yeah, for sure.
If
I agree.
money's your driving force, I mean, you see people where money's their driving force. So they might have a lot of it, or they're really unhappy and they're just bad people to be around.
Yep.
Or they just never quite get there, and they're never quite satisfied.
Yeah.
And how much is enough? You
Yeah.
know. So, man, respect, brother.
Thanks.
All right, dude. Well, what are we gonna do? We got another
Go for
surfer
another
server?
Yeah, for sure.
That wind didn't get up too much.
No, we're right.
What do you reckon? Should we go hit those
Let's
legs? High five, brother.
Thanks.
Fucking legend.
Cheers.
Ew. Catch you, brother.